Well, here we go. We are 2 days out from Election Day in what has to be the most unnecessary election call in Ontario's history. So go out and vote. This may have been the shortest campaign ever in the middle of winter. Go out and vote anyway. Doug Ford is counting on voter apathy. Doug Ford is counting on people staying home and not casting their vote. This is a chance to fire him because he has been doing an abysmal job as Premier of Ontario and needs to go. He needs to go. He claims to respect taxpayers, but he really does not give a rat's ass about them. He plans to build a $100 billion tunnel under the 401. But for what? That's going to cost every person in Ontario $6,250 each. Each. That's absolutely insane when the province is already in mountains of debt. Doug Ford has starved our public services, our teachers, our nurses, our doctors. No one wants to be a family doctor anymore because of how Doug Ford's policies have starved public health care in this province. There are several million people in Ontario without a family doctor now. There are lines in towns across the province where people have been waiting since 2 a.m. until the office opens at 8:30 to get the chance at a family doctor, like Hunger Games style. And the ERs in this province are chock full because people can not only can people not get family doctors, but now the wait times have doubled under Ford because of all this hallway medicine that's been going on. It's absolutely atrocious. People can be apathetic and think, Doug Ford, he's going to fight Trump's tariffs and, lower our taxes and this and that. Well, what happens when you have a health issue? What happens when you have a child that needs to go to school and our public education system is crumbling and, we don't pay our teachers and our academic staff, what they're worth? Doug Ford, in a time of, a global pandemic, capped wage increases for our nurses, healthcare professionals, teachers, and public sector workers to 1% a year in a time of, global upheaval in a crisis, causing a lot of people to either exit or outsource, in the case of nurses, to private agencies, which are now charging our government, 2-3 times the price of public sector nurses for the same work. Doug Ford likes to say that, Canada is not for sale. Oh, but Ontario is. Ontario has definitely been for sale under Doug Ford's watch. 1,000%. Doug Ford is now building, highways like the 413 and the Bradford bypass, which are going to be covering all sorts of prime agricultural land, in a time of, food security and trying to, grow more of our food here in Canada. Doug Ford is building highways to pave over this farmland. He's building over the sensitive Greenbelt area in a bid to build more urban sprawl single-family homes. It makes no sense because the Greenbelt helps protect us from floods, provides habitat for, many sorts of endangered species. This agricultural land obviously grows our essential food that we need, all so that Doug Ford and his developer buddies can get rich off of, the increase in land value that's going to happen when their properties are by the highways. And this is very well documented. Doug Ford is only for the rich. He's not for people like you and I, just going through the day-to-day, trying to build a future for ourselves. He's not for us. So what you and I can do is make sure you take someone with you to vote. Someone who maybe hasn't voted or whoever. Get a neighbor, a friend, or whoever. Get them to bring a friend and, bring people to the voting booth on Thursday. It's really important. Doug Ford only has a majority because in certain ridings, the Conservative vote is solidified and the Progressive vote is split between three parties. And because of our current electoral system, that means that the Conservative, can win with, 35% of the vote. If the other two parties have less than 35, then they don't win the riding. Just for example, in the 905 areas and other areas in the province, the Liberal candidate might be best, have the best chance of beating Ford. And in other areas, the NDP candidate might. So there are a couple websites you can go on to vote strategically to help vote out Doug Ford in your riding. Votewell.ca is one of them, and smartvoting.ca is another. So go on one of those websites and figure out, if you dislike Doug Ford, then vote for the candidate in your riding who has the greatest chance of beating Ford. It's unfortunate that has to be that way. People should be able to, vote their conscience and vote, who you think is going to be the best, truly the best candidate. But because Ford has just, run this province into the ground, unfortunately, he needs to go. And this is how we can show him our disapproval. So, again, make sure you go and vote. Make sure you tell your friends and family to vote. And there are a lot of swing ridings across the province that if the vote is strategic enough, you may be able to oust the Conservative candidate in your riding. When you have a candidate in your riding that has, 40%, the Conservative one, for example, and the NDP has 15 and the Liberal has 30, well, more people wanted the Progressive candidates. But, if you added those two together, it would be 45%, and the Conservative candidate would lose. But if just 10% left, the NDP and went to the Liberal, then the Conservative candidate would lose and Doug Ford would have less power. So go on those two websites, votewell.ca and smartvoting.ca. Do some research on candidates in your riding, what riding you're in, and make sure you go and vote on Thursday, please. Thanks so much.